Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. It's an old song. Welcome back to Talkville, the ultimate Smallville rewatch podcast. Very excited to be here. We're coming to the end of this second season of Smallville. The last episode, we gave a rose. That was Visitor, and it was surprisingly better than we thought, or better than we thought it would end. Today we have a new one, but before I do that, you know the ropes. If you want to support this podcast and keep it going, because as you can see, we don't have tons of sponsors, and we'd like to pay the people that work with us and, you know, keep the thing going. So that's patreon.com/talkville, and you can become a patron. There's a lot of perks, and we'd really appreciate it. If you're enjoying the show, feel free. Anything counts. Everything counts. So whatever you want to give, if you want. At Talkville Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. That's our handle. At Talkville Pod on Twitter. Message us. All that stuff, you know. You can find out cool stuff about merch, talkvillepodcast.com. Tons of cool Smallville stuff. And also on the Inside of You podcast at the Inside of You online store. We got great merch and Smallville merch. If you didn't get a chance to call in to our hotline and leave a question for this episode, make sure you do it for the future ones. All that info and more is down in the show's description. You can watch on YouTube, stream anywhere, write a review on Apple. It truly helps the show and get us up in the rankings. We deserve to be up there with other rewatch podcasts. You know? We deserve it. If you're a big Arrow fan, thank Smallville for that. All right? Thanks, Small. If you're a big Flash or Superman and Lois or whatever, Lois, thanks Smallville, because it all started, it kind of looks like, thanks Smallville.
Superman, it's me, Lois, your friend.
It's me, Lois. Remember me? I worked at the Daily Planet with you, with that Sullivan girl.
And now Paul Lynn.
X gets square.
All right. Good episode. My buddy's on this episode, and we're going to talk to him today. ANSON MOUNT is coming on. As long as he shows up, he has the link. He's done a lot of stuff. We did a movie together. Tom,
My favorite, Poolhall Junkies, your best work.
Poolhall Junkies. It is. Tom likes it. Don't laugh, Ryan. He's serious. It's a good movie.
You've never even seen it, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan. You'd like it. He's known for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. That's just a big hit. Tons of fans are loving this thing. And if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. He's great.
He's a big part of that, too. He's a big part of the success.
He's the captain.
Yeah.
He is the captain. Yeah. And you might know him from a show called Hell on Wheels on AMC. That was a big hit. And, but he was also in this episode. And,
he's also, I think, I know that you guys had worked together previously. You had maybe talked about being a part of him, getting him over the hump to get the role, but he's also your type of actor. He's a little understated, but interesting. He stays in the pocket. He doesn't, I thought he just played his character so well.
He is, he's really intense on this show. I was really proud of him because I knew when I was working with him. Well, we'll get into it. We're going to get into more of that. Right. Without further ado, let's just get into it. Season 2, episode 19. This is Precipice. Precipice. Aired 22nd of April, 2003. Director Thomas J. Wright. Don't remember Thomas, but good job. Writers Clint Carpenter. Only episode written. Guest star ANSON MOUNT as Paul Hayden. Camille Mitchell as Nancy Adams. Michael D. Amathwaite as Andy Connors, and Emmanuel Vaugier as Dr. Helen Bryce. Maybe soon to be a Luthor, we don't know. Clark loses control. He injures a college student who almost assaulted Lana.
Wait a second. You can't start like that. So these guys get drunk in the Talon. Lana kind of, calms them down and goes over to talk to the doc, who seems not to even notice it. And she notices this guy sitting there. And if you notice the paper he's reading, it says alien danger on it, which I thought was kind of funny. And then when she finishes her conversation and she looks back, the guy's gone. And we're left to not know what's up. But then she leaves, the doctor leaves. And then Lana gets beat up by these guys. And then, Clark shows up. I thought Clark was very composed in that moment. But we see that builds up a little bit as the scene continues and even the next scene.
Clark loses control, injures a college student who almost assaulted Lana. The Kents are sued for punitive damages, and Clark questions his powers while trying to find a way out. Meanwhile, Helen's ex-boyfriend arrives in town, and Lex takes the law into his own hands after he brutally beats her up.
Isn't there a whole beat where Clark has a fight in the alley and
well, that's just the synopsis. That's just the synopsis.
Oh, all right.
It's called the log line, if you will. Now, I had a problem with this. Aren't these the same punks from last episode?
No.
They look the same. Look them up.
One of them is clearly wearing a fraternity
sweatshirt
kids. With some Greek symbols on it.
I bet you one of them came back.
Well, they had some Canadianisms too.
They look the same. Those guys, are you sure they're not the same?
Well, I'll research that.
They're not the same. They're not the same.
That bothered me. I'm like, what are these guys coming back for? Same guys. All right, this episode kicks off in the town when his frat boys make the wild decision to party in a coffee shop. Maybe they just wanted to be around Lana. Lana is working the night shift and tells the frat boys they need to leave. Wait a minute, is that something in that? What is that? Is that alcohol? You have to leave. They become combative, so Lana hits a panic button. Frat boy Andy sees this and decides to chuck her against a wall before he can take her to the back. Clark walks in and forces him to leave. Why on earth would these guys do this in the Talon? But it was like, how the hell did she learn all that shit and beat this big fat guy up? Sorry.
Well, that was the whole theme of the episode.
She didn't know she had it in her.
She kicked like a professional UFC fighter.
It was about predatory men, this episode.
Yeah.
On both storylines.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Ahead of its time.
And to answer your question, no. They're not the same.
None of the three?
One of the guys, a guy, PJ Prinsloo, listed as Punk, is in 2 episodes of Smallville, but he doesn't come back till season 10 for some reason. Maybe it's just another extra.
Huh. Make a note when we do our 10th season of the podcast.
Have him on.
After Lana is okay, making sure she's okay, Clark meets up with the frat boys and warns them to leave Lana alone. They call her a biddy, which is slang for bitch, and a slut. There's this funny moment in I believe it's Psycho 3, the movie Psycho 3, where the mother says, "I don't like her, Norman. She's a lying whore and she's a slut." I just remember that. Clark opens a can of whoop ass before he can super speed away. He's held at gunpoint by a police officer for the 2nd time this season, and this is a different police officer.
There's a new sheriff in town, and Clark doesn't know how much Lana has seen.
What are you doing here, Mr. Kent?
He doesn't know.
She
was like an Amy Sedaris character.
Yeah, she was. What's funny is she, at first, I remember when she was cast, and Camille Mitchell, and I loved her. She was awesome to work with. We had so much fun. But I remember I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to buy this. Is this going to be too corny? And she really grows on you, and she gets better and better as the series goes on. And
she doesn't talk like that in real life.
No, but I really like, at first I just was like, that's the new sheriff, supposed to be intimidating, and I don't know, she's not intimidating, but she's just very focused, very.
Well, she was interesting. I liked her.
Interesting,
but yeah, I for a second I kind of thought she was like in her own comedy where like this clueless sheriff doesn't know there's superheroes in town. And they're just like, what is all this weird stuff going on? I'm gonna get to the bottom of this.
I think that was part of it. That's part of it. That's kind of the charm. It's like
it was like kind of funny. It was like kind of like a character comedy.
I swear, if you're in on this investigation or you put your nose in this,
you'll do what? I remember Lex goes, you'll do what?
Up in your butt. There's a new sheriff in town, and she questions Clark inside the town about how he was able to throw Andy 30 feet in the air. He goes, "Why don't you ask Cyrus from the last episode? He could probably do stuff like that, but he's in a mental ward." The sheriff then brings back Clark to the Kents and asks them why their son has been at so many crime scenes lately, one of which was uncovering the previous corrupt sheriff. The sheriff charges him with misdemeanor battery, and he plans to avoid the fine by doing community service. This is the scene where the sheriff says, "Those good old boy days are over."
Do you think Clark would just speed into a community service situation and just do it all in like 3 seconds?
If he has to have it done by a certain hour, show up 10 seconds before, do it and go. It's nothing. Done. Mr. Kent, I had one of my men come in there and they said they stayed for 2 hours And then you weren't there, and then you showed up, and you had cleaned 10 acres of horse shit off this farm in merely minutes. Over at the Smallville Medical Center, Dr. Helen Bryce gets an unexpected bouquet of flowers and a visit from her ex, Paul Hayden. He visited her after learning that Helen is with Lex.
So this is a fun scene, and my wife actually watched it with me, and she was impressed by it. She thought it was good acting. She thought everybody looked really good, and she kind of was like, "Oh, well," she got it instantly what was happening and how embarrassing it is for all three of them. And I know that you know that he's your buddy, but did you guys was it easy for you to have that scene because you're not supposed to be buddies?
Yeah, you know,
the characters.
It's funny because I didn't know what he was going to bring, and he just brought what he brought, and I was like, all right, that works. Let's do it. And once you trust somebody, it's so much more fun and easy. It's like you're not worrying about them. Because sometimes you worry about guest stars, like, you know, let's help him out. I didn't have to put any energy. This guy's an actor. He studied. He knows what the hell he's doing. Let him do his thing.
Yeah.
Mid-conversation, Lex stops by and tells her that he needs to bail on their lunch plans, a recurring trait in their relationship lately. The next day...
wait. Did we go past the Lex's headshot that comes with the flowers on the desk?
Is that later?
You got to bring that back up again.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
No, we talked about it in the last episode because it was so funny. But when you get the flowers before ex-boyfriend walks in, they show that headshot of Lex Luthor on her desk.
Me, and I took the headshot as Lex for a photo shoot, and they used it. So it looks like
it looks
like
strange.
a headshot. It's a headshot. It's terrible. Why would you use that? That's
it's not even a candid picture.
Maybe Lex wants to ask.
That's laziness.
Maybe he wants to act. Maybe Lex has
prop
dreams.
Department, art department. You guys are geniuses, but you dropped the ball on the headshot.
Well, they spent all that time on that tower.
Yeah, they're exhausted. Next day, Chloe and Peter giving Clark a hard time for his criminal behavior, joking that the orange vest will clash with his plaid shirt. As they leave, Lana arrives and starts to question how Clark was able to beat 3 guys by himself. She then thanks him for always being there to save me.
Beats 3 guys by himself?
Yeah, he beat off 3 guys. After learning about their attack the day before, Lex decides to visit the town and sneak up on Lana. The two begin talking, and he relates his childhood bullying to his current situation, giving her advice on how she can reclaim her sense of control.
You know, there's one thing that after we did the last episode, during our break, somehow popped in my head. What I realized is the last episode was all about how Clark does not share with Lana, and how Lex does share with the doc by showing her that room.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And how the different people react. And I sort of missed that. And I don't know if you want to cut this from this episode or not, but I think there was a window of insight there of what happens when you share your secrets with people. And we'll find out more about Helen Bryce. But anyway, and then we get into this episode, and Lana almost kind of witnesses a remarkable act by Clark. And so we're still in that mode of, you know, who is he and who knows what?
Yep. Back at the farm, Clark is learning about $1 million lawsuit that Andy has filed against him. Clark is upset and starting to believe that the warning in the spaceship is coming true. Leaving work, Dr. Helen is having car problems, unable to get it to start. She phones Lex and asks him to pick her up. As she sits waiting, she's surprised by Paul, the only other person in the parking lot. Before he can get
also, did anyone notice when Lex went to go see Lana in the town that he starts to make his own cappuccino?
He owns it. Do whatever you want.
I've never seen him do it. Wait, why is he doing it?
What's funny? I couldn't make a cappuccino. If it's not a pod that I just push in, I can't do anything. Before it gets more creepy, Lex rolls up and saves her. The two guys go back and forth as Lex shares his suspicions that Paul is stalking Helen, threatening him to stay away from her. I like this scene. I really liked I liked what I was doing, just bouncing back like, look, you don't want to mess with me. I'm not going to play, you know, tough guy here, but you barking up the wrong tree, buddy.
It was a really great line, and it was an awesome delivery. It's like, listen, you know, you talked about being a judge of character and all that, but when you go, you're a simple guy. I'd hate for your life to become complicated. I'm like, that's just such a good, like, this is not about right now, dude.
Yeah.
This is about
look, buddy,
it all.
Look, whatever you got going on here, hey.
Yeah.
Just move along.
Hit the tracks. Hit the tracks.
Talkville is brought to you by AG1, Athletic Greens, We talk about this all the time, but we love it. We love this product. We use it every day. Tom especially, I mean, every time he travels, he uses the travel packs. If you're tired of taking vitamins and tons of different vitamins, vitamin D pill, my vitamin C pill, this and that, and the multivitamins, which I think are kind of a crock, you're getting all your vitamins in this glass of water mixed in with a little AG1. It's delicious and nutritious. To me, I love this stuff. I really think it works. I feel like without it, I'm dragging along, Tom.
Yeah, I was just in Europe for a couple of weeks, and I brought some travel packs with me, and I really felt like it helped rejuvenate me, especially after the flights. I did find it helpful.
Look, it's the one thing you could do in under a minute. AG1 is powerful because it's so easy to fit into your lifestyle. It's one scoop of powder mixed with water once a day. That's it. AG1 has been part of millions of mornings since 2010, and it could help make you feel energized, making it easier to live your best life. Look, it's the all-in-one formula that makes it easy for you to take care of yourself. It's packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food-sourced ingredients of the highest quality. And, I get it delivered. Tom, do you have a delivery service?
I don't have a delivery service, but I get it from AG1.
Yeah, I have the delivery service, and it's just so easy. It's there, and I never run out of it. And it also is a reminder to, here it is. I got to keep taking this.
If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/talkville. That's athleticgreens.com/talkville. Check it out.
Talkville is brought to you by Home Chef. Guys, I don't have any time to make dinner. I don't have an hour to prepare things and go to the grocery store, then get too many of this ingredient and too much of that and waste money, and it sits in the fridge and it goes bad. I use Home Chef. We have so many decisions to make every single day. And by the end of the day, the last decision we worry about is, oh gosh, what's for dinner? Which is so important because you need nutrients. Your body needs to recover after working so hard all day. And that's where Home Chef comes in. Say goodbye to meal planning, recipe-induced stress, and last-minute grocery store runs. Let Home Chef bring simple, delicious home-cooked meals right to your door.
With 30 unique and flavorful chef-curated meal options available each week, Home Chef ensures your taste buds will never get bored.
Home Chef makes your nightly routine easier and more exciting with a wide selection of delicious meals that arrive at your doorstep in the form of fresh, perfectly pre-portioned ingredients and an easy-to-follow recipe card. Let me tell you, Tom, you know me, ADD. These recipes, it's so easy because it's all pre-portioned. So you're getting your meal. It's great. It's delicious. And you get to decide what you want, but at the same time, you make it so it makes you feel good, and it's going to take you 15 minutes. They also have 15-minute recipes, microwave meals, and oven-ready options that save you time and effort in the kitchen, plus cleanup is an absolute breeze. I strongly suggest this stuff.
Looking to master the art of cooking? Check out their classic meal kit options, complete with chef-written, step-by-step instructions.
And like me, if you have dietary needs, explore carb and calorie-conscious menu items, customize your proteins, or swap for vegetarian-friendly options. Thank you, Home Chef. This has really changed my life in a lot of ways. There's a couple of things that I've implemented in my routine that have truly just helped me, and I feel accomplished, and I feel like I'm eating better instead of getting fast food or using these delivery services. I'm saving money, and I feel accomplished when I make a meal that takes very little time that's easy. For a limited time only, go to homechef.com/talkville for 75% off your first box. You got to give it a try. Again, go to homechef.com/talkville for 75% off. Paul returns to his motel for the night. Inside the room, we see Paul obsessively talking about his desire to be with Helen, to the point where he headbutts a mirror, brutally injuring his face, thus getting him administered into the hospital and blaming Lex for the injury.
That surprised me.
When I first started watching this, I was like, okay, it's not going to just be a jealous boyfriend. Like, it can't be that. And then I'm like, wait a minute, it is just about a jealous boyfriend. I thought maybe he was going to bring something to the equation. I thought there was going to be some story that comes out about Helen,
kryptonite,
and it was just jealous guy. And I was like, okay,
obsessive. I mean, and the other thing is when he goes back to his motel, for some reason I said out loud to my wife, I'm like, I remember that motel. And she was like, oh, do you? And I'm like, no, I remember shooting there. I remember thinking, like, this is a cute motel. Obviously, when we see it, it's all lit by our a lighting department, so it looks great. And driving past it later, it doesn't look so great. But it's a cute little, everything's a little sort of cottage and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I do remember it.
And you
It
were
was a
filming
long night
Smallville
because
in there,
you show
right?
up
That's
there
what you were
later.
filming?
Yeah, it was something small
Okay.
or Largeville. In the hospital, Helen confronts Lex about the inquiry and why she's so standoffish. Lex flips the concern back on Paul, a guy who could go to the lengths of hurting himself to get attention. This is when Helen shares that Paul has a history for domestic abuse.
And then you and the sheriff get a little more intimate.
By the way, I really like the scene with me and the sheriff too. Like when I lost my shit a little bit. I was like, no, it was just like, hey, it was warranted. It felt like real. Like, oh wow, holy shit, he's pissed off, and he's like, what are you gonna do?
I was waiting for you to take a 9-iron to her windshield, but yeah.
I thought that was cheesy, but this was good. The next day, we see old Clark Kent, his reflective vest, picking up trash. Lex shows up to chat, and Clark shares his concerns for the pending lawsuit and how Andy could literally take the farm and be Lana's safety. Lex tells him not to worry because Lana's crouching tiger is going to find a hidden dragon.
Do we know that when Clark super speeds, do people see him?
Remember
like
on cameras,
question.
it's just like a blur. You just see some blur.
Right. So he could just be like a tornado that goes through and picks up all that trash in like a second.
Yeah, from the blind eye, you don't know what just happened. It's so
They're probably
fast.
They're probably like, it's whatever hours of community service. So he's like, well, if I do it all in 30 seconds, I still got a lot more work to do. So
True.
I don't know.
Then we cut to a scene with Lana hitting a punching bag and complaining that she can't make the bag move. The bag. I love her. I always joke with her. Back in town, Clark sees Andy and asks him to lay off his family. Andy denies this request and tells Clark he'll see him in court. As Andy hops in a car with his friends, Clark uses X-ray vision to see that Andy is actually faking his injury and drinking some brews. Chloe shows up to Clark's loft, and the two discuss Andy faking his injury. Chloe goes on to talk about how Lana is learning how to protect herself and that Clark doesn't understand the fear of being a lady alone in dangerous situations. I thought that was good. Cut to Helen Bryce, alone in the dark lab. She notices the lights don't work. We see her come face to face with Paul. He takes this moment to snap on Helen for breaking up with him, psychotically thinking they were made for each other. And why would he do it there, right in the lab with all those people, and get away with it?
Well, he got himself admitted into the hospital.
Yeah, I know that.
So he's already in the hospital. So he could confront her at night.
Oh, okay.
He didn't have to break into the hospital. Right. He was already in the hospital.
That makes sense. Helen tries to run away, but he traps her in the lab. Just then, she gets a call from Lex, who tries to apologize for his recent behavior. I always remember those scenes. Whenever they wanted me on a phone call, they call me in at it's night shoots. So they call me in at 2 a.m. to just do that one little thing on the phone. Or 5 a.m. Like the end of the day, we're going to shoot Rosenbaum, just him saying 3 lines. Or 2 or 1 line.
Well, part of that is because they know they can get that another time if they don't get to it.
Yeah,
they prioritize.
That's just the way it was. But it's like you have the day off, but they're like, you're gonna be your call time's 3 a.m. and full hair and makeup, and you're just gonna have 1 line or something. But it's always like, then you're like, oh my gosh, all right, fine, here we go. What else? Helen tips him off on where she's at. Lex, that is, and Paul responds by kicking the crap out of her. Helpless on the other line, Lex races to the lab to find Helen brutally beaten in critical condition. At the Talon, Clark checks in with Lana to see if she wants him to hang around. Her newfound love for karate has not only given her the confidence to not need Clark, but to also take it upon herself to volunteer to catch Andy faking his injury so the Kents don't lose their ass in a lawsuit. While Dr. Helen is being attended to, the sheriff shows up and apologizes to Lex for suspecting him. This is that big scene with Lex and the sheriff, telling him not to take the law in his own hands. Lex is irate at the idea of waiting for the time it would take to find Paul and decides to handle it himself. And Clark learns about Lex's plans for vigilante justice and super speeds to Paul's motel to try and help. He uses X-ray to see Lex inside snooping around. Both guys talk inside and discover that the guy that Lex had tailing Paul has been killed. Before leaving, Lex removes the pistol from the
I didn't
body.
see that coming, by the way.
Yeah. I like that big guy. It's probably just a stunt guy they hired, and he looks like a lurch kind of guy. He's like, Mr. Luthor, I'll follow him.
Yeah.
You know, it's like some guy you'll see in a Russian movie that doesn't say anything.
Do you remember? Sorry, do you remember anything about trains and being in a train station? I don't remember.
I do. It was a
any of
night
this.
shoot, and it was all night. It was all night from the time it was dark till the sun came up in those trains,
Gosh.
bouncing around. It was uncomfortable, and I remember
remember
Anson
this
and
at
I were
all.
exhausted. I remember they had the smoke machines, but it was cool. It turned out really cool.
Yeah.
Clark and Lex trace Paul to the train station, split up to try and find him. Lex corners Paul between a couple of train cars, holds him at gunpoint, and then tosses him an empty pistol to create a self-defense situation. Sneaky Lex. Before Lex can pull the trigger, Paul knocks him down and escapes into a train car. Lex makes his way through the train and gets caught off guard as Paul hits him with a cast iron. Both guys begin to fight. Paul gets the upper hand as he grabs for a nearby axe. Clark uses X-ray vision and is able to see Lex in trouble. He then uses his strength to knock the car off balance, sending Paul to the ground. This allows Lex to get on top of Paul and hold him at gunpoint. Lex says goodbye.
Did anybody notice the visual of the X-ray vision? It's two bald skeletons. How did he know who was who?
Well, he didn't want anybody to kill anybody.
Does he know what Lex's heart looks like?
Yeah.
Lex
says goodbye. Is unable to pull the trigger as he resorts to pistol whipping Paul and knocking him out. And that was a moment where Lex Luthor was like, I want to kill someone. And I haven't yet, but I want to. Has he not killed someone? I think he has killed someone.
Club Zero?
Oh, yeah, he's killed people. This is the second time Lex was almost killed by a crazy person with an axe this season. The other time was Lineage. Remember the woman? And she she was very Kathy Bates in that moment, dude. She was like, oh, man, what's up, bitch? It's a good thing that Lex didn't shoot, because moments later, both Clark and the sheriff enter the same train car. Instead of being glad that Lex performed his citizen's arrest, the sheriff is pissed at these meddling kids. And the next day, Andy meets up with Lana at the Talon. She tries to reason with him to drop the lawsuit, but he refuses. He once again tries to force her into the back, but this time Lana goes Charlie's Angels and kicks his ass. And that night, Lana meets up with Clark in his loft. He learns two things. Andy has dropped the lawsuit, and Lana doesn't need no man anymore.
You know, the funny thing about the Lana scene with the guy is, I know from like production experience that when you're in a location, you're in that location for the day, most likely. There might be a movie during lunch, but so they would have shot that scene of her getting beating the guys drinking, getting beaten up, and then kicking the guy's butt. That would have been all one day in the same scene. Just so you know, without all the interludes, the actor has to almost place that in there, the emotional beats,
kind of have an arc,
because they haven't shot him yet.
Yeah.
Just to say, Kristen's character carried a lot of ground that day.
Yeah. And that's not always easy. And sometimes if you're in the same location, they'll go, hey, let's get this scene from another episode. And you're like, where the hell am I? The episode ends with Lex and Helen in the Luthor office. Instead of vengefully going after Paul, he understands that he needs the proper psychiatric help, another guy in the ward. He even thanks Helen for saving him by being in his head when he was contemplating pulling the trigger. Lex then takes
I thought that was a cool thing to say.
Yeah. Lex then takes this opportunity to propose to Helen, his second engagement this season. The first was Heat, right?
Well, you know. Was Heat this season or the season before? I actually don't remember.
No, it was the second episode of the season 2.
Okay.
Interesting things of note. When Jonathan, the new talking to Jonathan, the new sheriff makes a Dukes of Hazzard reference by saying, "Those good old boys days are over." Anson Mount plays Paul Hayden.
John doesn't even twitch.
I know.
He just lets it go past.
He shouldn't. And of course, Anson Mount, who plays Paul Hayden, also starred with me in Poolhall Junkies. I played Danny. This is Lex Luthor's second engagement, we said, revealed on screen, the first being to Desiree Atkins in Heat. That's correct.
There you go.
You know, there were some fun things. It was shot kind of cool. There was really nice moments. It wasn't a freak of the week, but we got to see a little bit of Lex's dark side. You know, you got to see him kind of showing who he is a little bit.
You saw a lot of Lex.
Yeah.
You weren't just in like 2 or 3 scenes to cross with Clark. You were like, this was a Lex-driven episode.
I agree. Here's the hotline, 213-JET-CUTE. Here's some top-tier patrons. Become a patron, patreon.com/talkville. Support the show. We need you. Here we go. Here's Michael P.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Machoni from Texas. You guys know me by now. I love my special effects. In the episode Precipice, I was really impressed with the scene between Helen and Paul and all that broken glass in the lab. How are scenes like that pulled off and yet still safe for the actors? Thanks, guys.
It's stunts. I mean, it's really like, they'll pop in on close-ups on us actors and making a move. And sometimes if we can get away with it without hurting one of us, we'll do something. But usually like those wide shots are both stunt doubles. They're both wrestling around. When she gets tossed on the table, knocked down to the floor, that's a stunt double. They make a wig.
And the glass that they use is called candy glass, which when you put it down, it's like very like don't touch it until you need to, and it's not sharp when it breaks. So that's helpful.
Hey y'all, it's Leanne, your patron from Sacramento. So I was wondering if any of you noticed the way Kristen said the word bag in this episode. Her Canadian accent definitely came through. It sounded a little bit more like begged. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Yeah, we noticed it. We don't have to get into it because we've gotten into it. Thanks, Leanne. Yeah, we noticed it. Here's some voicemails. Here's Sherry.
Hello. Hello, Sherry from Virginia. Did Kristen do the spin kick herself, or was it a stunt double? Thank you.
I think she did it herself.
Yeah, she can do that stuff.
She can do that stuff. Let's say her
choosing the Street Fighter movie after this.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, stunt guys always say, "Let them think it was you." That makes it look like we're doing the right thing. Tell them it was you. They shouldn't think it was a stunt guy. Aaron, let's go to Aaron. We got a few more questions before our guest. Here's Aaron.
Hey, this is Aaron from Tifton, Georgia. So what is this, like the 64th time that Lana has been either assaulted or attempted to be killed in 2 years of high school? Like, I can't help but wonder, how is she not severely traumatized with PTSD and chronic depression? And I feel like if somebody was attacked that many times, that's what would happen to them. But nope, she's just normal, small-town sweet girl working at her coffee shop.
Aaron, you should be on the show. I'm gonna have you call in always now. Always accept Aaron's calls. Yeah, we think the same thing. I mean, people get beaten up. I'm gonna have so many head injuries by the end of the 4th season. You won't even know what to do with yourself. I'll forget everything. I'll remember things. Thanks for that. Here we go. This is Thomas the Leaf Blower. Remember old Thomas the Leaf Blower? We love saying his name. Here we go, Thomas.
Hey, this is Thomas the Leaf Blower from Niagara Falls, Canada. I have a question for the season 2 episode, Precipice. That's the first episode with Camille Mitchell as the sheriff. I was just wondering, she was so great in the show. I thought, what was it like for you guys working with her? How was she behind the scenes and off camera?
Yeah, I just talked about that. I loved working with her, and we talked about like we didn't expect her to be so tough and to work, not because she's a woman. I mean, because it just didn't seem intimidating, and it works though as the shows go on. I was like, wow, she's really great. So it wasn't underestimating her ability as it was a physical thing that I thought wasn't initially, and don't judge a book by its cover. I mean, she acted the hell out of that.
It should be in a small town sheriff in a small town.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Maria.
Hey guys, Maria from California here. The episode Precipice has some really interesting parallels between Clark's and Lex's stories. Both of them are moved to defend their love interest with physical aggression. Clark to the point that he gives in to intentional and even desired violence. It seems to me that for Clark, it's likely the first time that he feels that desire to actually hurt someone outside of like when he was on Red K. What do you guys think Clark would have done had the sheriff not shown up?
Quick answer. I think he was done. I think those boys were done too. I think he got rid of them, and I think it was over. And then, oops, now the sheriff. I don't think he would have done more.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I think morally too, the characters. Clark's a good guy. He wouldn't want to kill someone, would you?
Hey, Michael and Tom. Huge fans. This is Eric from Jersey. Michael, you and Anson Mount have history together in Poolhall Junkies. I was just wondering if you guys became friends from that movie, or were you friends beforehand? Thank you.
He sounds like he was in Poolhall Junkies.
He does. How you doing, Eric? Yeah, we became boys after that. We became buddies. We went to Vegas together for this thing. Dustin Hoffman. We were playing cards with Dustin Hoffman, poker, and had a blast. And then when he came on Smallville, it was great. And we keep in touch here and there. I did his podcast. He did mine. I'll have to have him come back. But great guy, and loved working on that movie. Really.
What's his podcast about?
You can ask him. I don't know if he's still doing it.
I will.
All right, international folks. Louis, when filming in the train cab, was that a normal train? or was it customized to make it easier? No, it was a real train. They weren't gonna. Yeah, that was real. We were there at the train station a long time. Yeah. Thank you. I'm very happy that this man is with us. He's not only a great actor, and I got to see that working with him, and seeing how far he's gone and what he's been doing. Hell on Wheels, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. We did Poolhall Junkies together. He's in a lot of stuff. And Star Trek, Strange New Worlds is just like fans love this. This show was like a hit, and so there you have it. I don't need to say much more. I'm happy you came on. I know you got. I just met your baby this morning via FaceTime, and we played for a few minutes, and I introduced the new puppy, and it was nice. It's good to see you, buddy.
You too.
Yeah. How's everything going, man?
Good. We just got back we had a family vacation in Aruba, and came back, and the weather had completely changed for the better, and now I'm just doing stuff around the house, which is, as we get older, the more mundane things are the things we get most excited about, right?
Yeah.
So I was just cutting the wood for next winter, and working in my pottery shop and doing really just boring things.
They're not boring, they're passions. They make you happy.
Well, you lose interest going to the nightclubs. It's just.
Can you think back to all the energy and money and time we spent on nightclubs, playing really bad music, remix? What were some of Rosie? What were some of those places back in the day in LA?
Hyde. Is Hyde still around? Remember there was
Crazy Girls.
Where?
Crazy Girls
for a while. I mean, they open and shut so fast, right?
Yes.
Dublin's.
You remember Dublin's?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like you look back and you're like, that was a time, and you're like
Sky Bar.
But the Mondrian, the Sky Bar on Sunset, it still exists. I haven't been to one of these places. To get me out of the house, as you know, Tom, is not easy. But like, it kind of makes me sad in a way that like I used to have this energy, Anson, to go out like freaking till 3, 4 in the morning, and like now it's like I want to be in bed at 10.
I know. I was just thinking about that. How much our metabolisms have probably changed, and they changed so slowly we probably haven't noticed it. So I was wondering this morning, I was like, wow, if I was suddenly thrust into like a 26-year-old body, would things smell better? Like, would colors be brighter?
I think so.
Am I close to being dead, basically?
No, 26-year-olds don't care about how things smell. They like, you know what I mean?
Certain things.
Well, the only thing worse than being a 26-year-old is being a 26-year-old nowadays. I'd still rather be that one guy before all the social media shit. Anyway, but listen, Anson, do you remember? Look, I know we worked on Poolhall Junkies and we hit it off, and we went to Vegas and hung out with Dustin Hoffman and played poker, and we're living the life and all that stuff as young punks. Yeah. But do you remember Smallville? Do you remember the episode? You got to remember the trains, us working into the night.
Yeah.
It's acceptable to say no because I don't remember a lot of it.
I remember you, Tom, because you were ready to get in there and get it done and go home.
Oh, yeah, because Tom, yeah.
You're like, okay, why are we hold up? Why can't we be shooting this right now? And I was like, well, we just ran into a major technical issue. And you're like, oh.
You know what's funny, Anson? Is, because Tom, think about that. He's working every day, 14 hours a day, and now he hears
I don't blame him at all.
But not only that, but it's a night shoot, and he just has to come in at the very end, shake the train, and leave. I mean, pretty much.
3 in the morning.
Yeah, right. And that's what he's waiting at. He's at 5 in the morning trying to shoot this or whatever it was. Do you remember, were you at all intimidated because it was this new show, it was a hit show, and you're playing this part, and it's a big role for a guest star, and you had to play this intense character, which it really came off great. Do you remember being nervous at all or excited or what?
I don't get too nervous unless it's theater, right?
Right.
For me, and it like film and TV is more like it's going into the lab, right? And I don't feel too much pressure. With some people are the opposite. But for me, I actually remember I learned something on that episode because it the way that these things tend to be written, whether it's genre, you call it genre, superhero, or whatever, there are scenes that the stakes can be very heightened. And that character especially, there's a point at which he goes a little crazy, and you can't play crazy by playing crazy. It just doesn't, because crazy people don't think that they're crazy.
Yes.
They think that they're pursuing a goal. So I just worked on that. I sort of took the pressure off myself to work on how does he make sense of this? Because he's the protagonist of this story, right? And I remember being pretty happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
My mom called me after that episode aired, and she said, "Anson, I think you've become a really good actor."
You know what's funny?
I was like, "Well, you must have you thought I was shit before this, right?"
Well, Tom and I were talking, and you're obviously theatrically trained, and you did all that stuff. But you're sort of. He asked me when he was on set. Was it kind of like you guys were boys, but he's not playing this character, so was it weird? I go. With me, when guest stars come on, I'm always like, I'm sure they're going to be nervous. They might not know what they're doing. It's coming into a new environment, and we already know what we're doing. And I said, with Anson, it was the opposite. He came in, and from take one, I was like, he knows what he's doing. I don't have to even think about that. Because a lot of times you're thinking about other people.
That's funny because Anson told me he felt the opposite. He was like, what is this? What's Michael doing?
Lex Rosenbaum.
I got to help this kid.
And you know what's funny, and nobody knows this? Guess who was up for Lex Luthor for Smallville? Anson.
Really?
How close were you to getting it, Anson?
Pretty close.
He turned it down once he realized he really had to shave his head.
No, how close? Like, I know Zach Levi was up for it, but he says he bombed the test. You tested for it, right?
Yeah.
And what happened? Tell me. People want to know.
What are you trying to get him to say?
He's trying to hide something. I could say I know him.
Michael, don't you remember this, man?
No.
Oh, man. Okay.
Oh, this is going to be good.
You remember back when you got the role, when you got the role, you were telling me, and you said, "Hey, so I'm doing this Superman thing. I'm playing Lex Luthor. We were on the phone or something." I said, "Oh my God, they offered that to me." And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I remember now.
And immediately I went, "Oh my God, I am so it just came out." I wasn't thinking. I was like, "This is the stupidest, most insensitive thing I have ever said."
I don't think it's
okay, man. It's okay. And then who was it that we did Poolhall Junkies with?
Yeah, Phil Glasser.
Phil. It was Phil. So Phil calls me up out of the blue when I'm shooting. I was shooting Crossroads. And he's like, "What are you doing these days?" "I'm just doing this movie with Britney Spears." And he goes, "Oh yeah, they offered that to me." And I immediately knew that you'd put him up to that. Nice. And then I called you immediately after that, and I was like, "You son of a gun." That was good. That was really, really good.
You know what's funny is I always tell the story, but I was like, I was so scared because I had that audition. I told the story many times. I'm not going to tell it. But when I finally came back in, I had the best audition of my life, and I told them, and they wanted me to test and all that. I go, "No, rewind the tape," and they ended up giving me the role. It was a crazy thing to do. I don't recommend it, but I was like, I didn't know that they had made an offer. Like, no, I knew now. I just didn't remember the story, but I remember now you telling me that. But why didn't you take it? Let me ask you that.
I honestly can't recall. I remember that my representatives really didn't want me to shave my head, but that kind of didn't bother me. I honestly cannot remember why it didn't go that way. But by the way, we can look. The reason we can look back and laugh on this now is because it's gone both ways. You've gotten roles that I coveted, and that's how it happens. Like invariably, my one of my best friends from graduate school.
You talk about sorority girls,
sorority boys. Yeah, you were supposed to get that. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't get that. I love that movie. But go ahead.
But you end up everything. Things look, especially in your 20s, which I would not go back to for all the teen shine. things can look so topsy-turvy and lopsided in the moment, and then when you get sort of several decades into the business, you realize it all kind of evens out, because everybody ends up gravitating towards where they communicate the best and where they fill the slot the best, and But I looking back on it, I do remember thinking to myself, I should have taken that job because Michael Rosenbaum is very rich right now.
By the way, CW, not very rich. People think I am just worth so much money. And I'm like, this isn't network. We're not friends. We're not, trust me. It wasn't even close. By the way, I just text, not because I think you're a liar, but I text Al, the creator, and I said, hey, did he really get an offer for Lex? I want to call him out on his shit. That is awesome. So you remember coming in and you really enjoyed your time playing this character. You like what you did. I really thought you were great. Your subtleties, the intensity, the very Cole Trickle, was that his name? And Raging Bull? No, Cole Trickle? What was his name in Raging Bull? No, in Taxi Driver.
Travis Bickle.
Travis Bickle, sorry. Cole Trickle was Days of Thunder or something. Anyway, when you're in front of the mirror and then you smash your face.
Cold Pickle.
How did they do that? I guess they just, like, you just pretended to hit your head, and how'd they do that? Do you even remember?
Wait, what was it?
You smashed your face in the mirror to bloody your face so you go to the hospital.
You know what they did is they made a little sort of prosthetic, like half egg that they filled with blood and put on. I think they glued it onto my forehead, and then I had to smash it. and because it went so quickly, you kind of didn't see the prosthetic.
That sounds dangerous.
It does sound dangerous. What if you missed and you hit your nose?
Yeah.
I would have had that problem. My nose is bigger than yours.
Michael Nosenbaum.
Michael Nosenbaum. But look, dude, it's awesome talking to you. And like, I knew you wouldn't remember a lot, but it was a fun character. It's amazing sometimes these guest stars, like we had Amy Adams, and then she's nominated for an Oscar, and there's certain performances along the way that you go, oh, what did that guy? Did that guy do anything? And I have Ryan look it up, and it's good that, like, this guy, you're doing all this stuff. I mean, you go to these cons, you sign autographs. Do you like doing the cons?
I do, actually. There are the worst things than having a line of people come up to want to pat you on the back,
I remember seeing you at a convention and kind of remembering you from everything else I've seen you in, except Smallville. I didn't really remember it because we didn't really work together. There's probably that one late night thing. You look very familiar to me, but when we watched this episode to get ready for this podcast, I was like, oh my God. I was that ignorant, but I enjoyed it. And my wife even saw it. There's a scene between you, Lex, and the doctor that's very sort of like just high stakes and past lives and new lives and all this. And she was like, this is really good. And so I wasn't in the scene. She's never said about my scenes, but
that's so nice. That's nice.
You've got a great face, Anson, on screen. I mean, you're okay in person, but when you're on screen, your face just pops. It's like, whoa, that's an actor. Look at that. That's like, whoa, this guy was destined to be an actor. Let me ask you this. How hard is it to be a lead role on a series? Because you're obviously the lead on Star Trek Strange New Worlds. How difficult is it as a lead? Because I know Tom was constantly exhausted. The hours are epic. I mean, if you even want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, there are several levels to it. There's the hours. I'm lucky. I'm lucky on Star Trek because it tends to be more of an ensemble energy, anyways. But the hours are still intense. But also there's the leadership angle and having to you lead by example, and you can't slack. Because it sets the tone for the entire day, not just for the rest of the cast, but for the crew as well. And you learn things about yourself, and you learn just the difference in energy between, nobody prepares you for the fact that people are suddenly going to give you this status. And you start to realize there's a difference between when you come to work and you say hello to everyone in the morning and when you don't.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not, I grew up the kids stuffed in the trash cans in school. Like I was never prepared for the fact that people would actually care about them.
Right.
And so it's a continual learning process.
I would also say that from my experience, one thing that when I've been on other shows since and I come in as a character, I'm not there all the time. I'm almost, it's a breath of fresh air because I get to come in and do my thing and I get to walk away. It's not that weight on your shoulders that even though I leave, you have to stay here. And day after day and hour after hour, it's a whole different muscle of working at the same time. It's all on your shoulders. If you're in a bad mood, everybody's in a bad mood. It's a lot of responsibility that's even off camera. So, I mean, I feel you. I feel you.
And you have to learn to pace yourself. So you can't just chug coffee for the first 5 hours if you know that that's going to eventually drain you.
Yeah.
Because you could go overtime, and overtime from us can mean up to 18 hours,
Yeah. I remember doing a series and it just lasted 2 seasons, but I remember that, you do greet everybody. You do like, hey, this is the day. I'm the lead guy. I want everybody to have fun. And that's another energy on its own. You know how I could get, and I want to be like, hey, joking around. And I'm like, all right, dude, you got to pace yourself. You could just say hi.
Yep.
Guys, how are you? And because I want everybody to be happy. And it's like, you better, because 6 hours
There's this, somebody told me once, he said, stop saying good morning or stop saying how are you. That's what he said. He said, stop saying how are you to everybody. Just say good morning. It's a lot simpler. And I remember being like, oh yeah, check that out. Cause because it's all just passing, but yeah, anyway.
Well, dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad you came out. I know you're busy with the family. You got a new kid, and it's like, congratulations. I loved having you on here, and it was a joy to watch us on screen together and go, oh yeah, there we are.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We got to go back and watch Poolhall Junkies together sometime. I still have people coming up to me at conventions with those DVDs.
Me too. And
People
Tom,
like that.
it's one of his favorite movies. Tom loves it.
It's one of I could watch that movie over and over. I just love it. I love Walken. I love you guys. I love the fact that he directed it and he stars in it. The writer, I forget his name right
Mars
now.
Callahan,
I'd love that he pulled that off. And I'd love, this is a lot of money to you. I'll make more money. Like that whole part. Like it's a great cast. It's great. It's fun.
Money. He can make more money.
Yeah.
You get this thing about
I just love
lions on the Geographic Channel. And these lions, they lie there. And the lioness and the cubs, they gnaw at him and they, tease him. And always just sits there. And one day, he gets up and he tears through the jungle. Kills everything in his path.
There you go.
Because sometimes you have to look at yourself and know you're a lion. Or something. I don't remember, but that was, I liked that on one take. And I remember Anson and I always like trying to be there and watch him when he was there. You'd always show up on set. You were always there. Yeah.
Well, you remember his first day on set, I went to visit because I wasn't working that day, and I showed up. You remember I was watching them work off camera and my cell phone went off?
Oh, yes, I remember it exactly. You were like, I'm so sorry. Oh,
I'd been out shopping or something, and I stopped by the set, and I wasn't thinking, and it went off in the middle of Walken's take, and oh man!
And he said, "Look, you fuck."
No. I come back in, and I decided to bite the bullet, so I walked straight up to him, and I apologized. I said, I'm the
guy.
I'm the jerk with the cell phone. And the whole room stopped. Like the electrician stopped hanging. The grip stopped moving because everyone wanted to see what Walken was going to say to me. And he just looked at me and he said, you remember this? He said, why do these cell phones have to have all these songs? Why can't they just read them?
That's right. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that. Do you remember this? Lastly, I'll let you go, is when I said, I had a conversation with him. I go, what do you want me to call you? Mr. Walken or Chris? And he goes, call me Flash. And I was with you and I go, watch this. And I go, hey, Flash. Flash. And he just like looked at me like, what the fuck are you talking about?
He set you up.
I felt like such a douche rocket. Anson, I love you.
Like,
take care of yourself, buddy.
You too, man.
By the way, for the record, and maybe Anson doesn't remember exactly, or his agent said you're going to get the offer and this and that. I said, talking with Anson Mount on the podcast for Talkville, did he really get an offer for Lex? Want to call him out on his shit. Al says, no. I think, and I could be mistaken or misremembering this, he auditioned the same day that you did. Your second audition, I think he was in Vancouver. Nutter and Miles were up. Oh, because there's a story to that. Nutter and Miles were up there scouting and watched him. Mike Tolan and I saw you in L.A. We knew you were the guy. Nutter called before he saw your tape and said, we have Lex. And then Miles called me after that call and said, we don't have Lex. Then I said, well, the good news is we do have Lex, and it's Michael Rosenbaum. We got the video, gave him the video, and then showed it to Peter Roth, who approved you on the spot. Then Jordan Levin and Suzanne Daniels, who already loved you, said yes immediately. Anson, sorry you remembered wrong, incorrectly, but that's straight from the creator's mouth.
So he was offered the audition, is what you're saying?
No, I think what happened probably is he was great. And they're like, we're not sure or whatever. And, he probably, they thought they had, or maybe his first read, they thought, hey, we have him. But let's keep looking. We're not sure. I don't know. But they knew that it was me.
Great.
Anyway, I love you, Anson, and your career is awesome. So, okay, look, Rosenbaum ratings. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I didn't think it was a bad episode. I thought it was it was weird. It kind of reminded me like you were sort of in your own little 90s thriller movie with the like a Fatal Attraction style that kind of ended in like a Lethal Weapon buddy cop scene with the trains.
Right.
It was weird. Like it felt like it was paying homage to that for some reason. But that's what made it interesting. Like the bad guy wasn't like a supervillain. It was just bad dudes, and it was about what women standing up for themselves and what you were willing to do for the woman that you loved.
What do you give it?
I will give it a 1.5.
So Rose and a half.
Rose and a half.
So you liked it a little better than the last episode, Visitor.
I did. I definitely did. I knew that watching it, even though it was 2:00 in the morning. But yeah.
And by the way, my friends have a problem. They don't even listen to this podcast, and they're like, "I have a problem with the Rosenbaum. Well, you have half roses in this." It's exactly that reason. Because if we like something, it's a rose. That's a rose. I liked it. And if you're like, it's okay, half, then you know what I mean? I like the halves because you liked it a little better than Visitor. So a rose and half is like, you liked it. You liked it. Tom?
2. I thought performances were great. I thought it was fun. I agree that it did sort of match that thriller aspect that we'd always get. And I kept thinking that Anson's character was going to have some kryptonite. If I touch you, I can convince you. And that didn't happen. It didn't rely on any of that.
It was just what it was.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'd give it a rose and a half with Ryan. Not quite 2. I didn't love it, but I liked it. Death and save count. 1 dead. Paul Hayden kills Lex's henchman. 2 saved. Clark saves Lana and Andy. Lex saves Helen, who is left for dead.
Wait, Clark also saves Lex in the train. He hits the train so Lex doesn't get hit with the...
Oh, yeah?
With the axe.
You missed that, Bryce. You missed it. My F-bomb, if you will. Lex saves Helen, who was left for dead. No, she was. I guess if he wouldn't have came to her, the lab, she might have. I don't know. 19 episode, season 2, 26 dead, 31 saved.
That was more of a help.
That was more of a help. Yeah, I don't give that a save. Series 56 dead, 66 saved. Ryan's favorite scene. Ryan's favorite scene.
All right, yeah, this was tough. The scenes were good. So, scene 1. Lex threatens the guy in the parking lot. Scene 2, the train scene. And scene 3, Lana's roundhouse kick.
You brought that up twice. Oh, I was going to say train so quickly. But you did mention Lana kicking. But I think your questions were answered. I'm going to say train.
And it's either, what was the second one? It was train and...
Lex
Lana's
threatening the guy in the parking lot and Lana's kick.
I'm going to go train.
I think Lex's scene in the parking lot is a better scene, but I think you're going to say train.
I'm going to say Lana. because that's what I picked.
Oh,
Lana's
both wrong.
roundhouse kick.
I think it's because it was 3:00 in the morning, but that was like, and I needed like a jolt. But like that's why these scenes were good. But that was the one that I picked.
Lana's roundhouse kick is your favorite scene
Why
of
not?
that intense show.
Why not?
I'm going to give your response, your pick, as 3 bombs. Can I do that?
Sure.
Yeah, it was a bad pick. It was a bad choice.
That's fair.
That's it for the episode. A lot of fun, boys, always. Stick around next week as we investigate season 2, episode 20, Witness. We are really nearing the end. Stick with us. Go to patreon.com/talkville. Support the podcast. We need you. And talkvillepodcast.com for Talkville merch. And inside of you, online store for Smallville merch as well. There's some good Smallville stuff, Lex statues, only 6 left, and some cool inside of you stuff there too. Let's see the discussion online. Let us know your thoughts on the episode over on our socials at Talkville Podcast or at Talkville Pod. Show the support we talked about by joining Patreon, and if you want more information, like merch from the show and all that stuff, our hotline number, you can find it all in the description. It's all there. It's been a fun ride, man. I can't believe I have watched this many episodes of Smallville.
I can't believe we only have 4 more left. That's crazy.
Pretty crazy. Crazy, man. It's crazy. It's pretty crazy. Man.
Pretty crazy, man.
I'm having another lozenge. All right, guys. Remember always, we love you. Thank you. Remember, always hold on.
To Smallville.
To Smallville. Remember, guys, always hold on to Smallville. We can't forget our lovable patrons. Thank you so much. We're going to mix it up a little today. Patreon.com/Talkville. Nikki G, Leanne P, Raj C, Janine R, Santiago, M, Leah S, Little Lisa, Thomas, the Leaf Blower, Sophie, Betsy D, RB P, Ray H, Karen Apple M, Danielle B.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
99 more. 99 more. Lilani and Brett G always hold on to Smallville. Stefan G, DJ Kento, Garrett W, Kimberly L, Tom and Dolfo V, Jason W, Osama A, and Lana rhymes with a banana W.
Nancy D, Brian G,
It's horrible.
Sarah W, Amanda R, Teddy 127, Michael P, Ryan R, Jordan M, Tom Takeover,
Hillary B, Randy, Hillary B, Randy B, Craig G, Christy R, Karen P, Derek G, Jor L, Judessa, Heather and Greg, Nico P, I made, Talkville Save Butts, Brian H, Eric K, Clark's Mom, Kristen B, Kevin E, Craig C, Nanine W, Stephanie K, Darth, Achilles, Finky, Mickey, Taylor's Version, Stephen F, damn, who's that? Janetti, Deadvid, General Zod, The Daily Planet goes till 11, Big D, Doug R, Carlos C, Tommy Z Boston 68, Ken K, Isabel Coriel, Ivy and Sam, Mr. Home Arcade, Amanda K, Jesse C, Lumberjack, Claire M, and D Brown.
Joshua D, Joshua W, I mean, Alice B, Con, please rewind, Karinera M, Eldon Supremo, Leslie V, Tatiana S, Robert G, Julie Jules, hang on a second, switching pages. Mick Birds, Ginger Moose, Christoph S, Katie B, Michelle M, Drew, Brittany S, Marisol P, Veronica Q, Sebastian F, Cheryl H, Nick M, Matthew and Lincoln, David G, Carol B, and the Chief, Alex A, Mary and Louise L, CGO, P's, Debts, Yeblon, P's, Debts, Yeblon, Son S, Kelly Bell. We love you guys. Thanks so much. And if you hated that, let us know. We won't do it again. We'll see you later.